Well, hello, 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 and welcome to the Lady Show. My name is Sheila, and I'm going to be your lead host for today. I just want to say thank you for all of our faithful fans who have followed us. And if you're new, we want to welcome you also to the Lady Show. We recognize the fact that you could have gone anyplace else. You could have selected some others, but you've taken your time out to share with us, and we truly do appreciate that. So, for those of you who know us, you know what we do. For those of you who don't, just let me share with you. With the Lady Shows, we like to have a conversation. We have conversations every day, all the time, about all kinds of topics. And those topics are based upon something that might be locally that's going on, or something that's national or international. And we also do it based upon the information that you request and topics that you might want to share with us. And we appreciate that, and we want you to continue to make that happen. So, before I get started, I want to share with you my ladies that are here with us today to get the conversation going. So, for many of you, you remember our Zandria. Okay. And Jana, she's joining us, and Talia. So we're all going to be here today and have a little, just a brief little conversation. So as we were thinking about the month of February, for so many people, the month of February is the month of love. Right? So you have Valentine's Day, you got all that kind of stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And we all love to love. Yes. Mm-hmm. And we like happy endings on what we have going on, right? Sure. I think that's the case for most of us. But sometimes things might change up. So we're going to start looking at maybe that and exploring that kind of issue. So today's topic of discussion, as we were looking through the notes and asking what we should discuss, the question came up, does love fade? Mm-hmm. Now I recognize this is the love month, but does love just kind of fade and go away? Or does it not and it stays the same? So I don't know. What do you guys think?
That's a good question. Now, are you talking about love with your honey? Are you talking about love with your friends? What love are we talking about in regards to? What will we start off with it?
Well, since it's the love for February, Valentine's Day, we're going to talk about our relationships with your honey.
Oh, okay.
With your sweetheart, your husband, your long significant other. Does that you've been with, you're in that relationship, does that love fade?
Right. That's a good question. I'm going to let Zandy tell. She has a honey. So go ahead. Take it over. Take it over.
I do. I think people do fall out of love, unfortunately, because I think depending on how long you've been together, what happens is you start to grow apart, is what I've heard from couples, is they were something when they were something or someone else when they were in their 20s, and then they evolved to be something else 20 years later. And they may have fallen in love in their 20s with the 20-year-olds that they were, and then they transform and don't grow together, and there's something else. That's what I hear from my friends that are divorcing, unfortunately, at the moment. So unfortunately, I think love can fade. But I also think that it takes an effort for love to fade in the sense that those two people didn't want to continue that love together and didn't fight for that love. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
I think that there's also a saying out there, whatever you did to get it, you got to do it to keep it.
That's right.
And so a lot of times I think the reason that love fades, or it can be, is that because people get kind of complacent. Mm-hmm. They kind of take certain things for granted, or in their efforts to pursue what they want to pursue within their marriage lifestyle, they start to not they start to not put the effort in.
Let me. You know what? That's good, because as we were thinking about this, and as I was thinking about the different aspects, that is one. I want to see if we can kind of stay with. Does it fade? Mm-hmm. And I think we've kind of said, well, yes, it can. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like a consensus that it can fade. But I'm going to do two things. I want to do, and it's going to be before and after. So I want to do what we call just a little brief word association.
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to say a few words, and I just want one word responses from you guys.
Okay. I'm scared.
You can
I'm ready.
Based upon our topic.
Okay.
Okay. So first one I'm going to start with is children.
And one word.
One word. No, trying to just one. Children. Let's make it just fast. One word. I don't want you to analyze it and think about it. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear children?
Needy.
Oh.
Did I hear needy?
Mm-hmm.
Needy. Okay.
Love.
Loud.
Okay. Finances.
Crazy for me.
One word.
Oh.
One.
Finances. Stressful.
Hard.
Doable.
Time.
Limited.
Okay. Motivation.
Always.
Effortless.
Needed.
Necessary.
Willingness.
Salient.
Helpful.
Unlimited.
Husband.
Wanted.
Okay.
Rock. I think of rock.
One word.
Rock. Like, I want to say my rock, but you said one word. So rock.
Dependable.
Loyal.
Responsible.
Wife.
Oh.
Okay. Wife.
Amazing.
The heart.
Helper.
Creator.
I think queen.
Nurturer.
Dependable.
Okay. All right. So we're going to think about that as we go on. Okay. So again, with the sort of the consensus that love can't fade. So what do you think some of the factors are? If love can fade, what do you think some of the factors are that causes that to happen?
Well, I love what Jonna said about what you did to get married is what you have to do to maintain your marriage. Like you said, I think people get comfortable, complacent. They just get, they're not dating each other anymore.
True.
They're not spending one-on-one time anymore. Maybe if they're pursuing their careers, they're forgetting that your relationship should come first before anything, even before your kids. A lot of people forget when the kids come, it can become about the kids, but the kids didn't come until you had your relationship.
Right.
And you can't keep a happy home unless you maintain that relationship and model for them what a healthy relationship looks like.
Right.
I
think it's growth too. You know, I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. Right. I'm not even a year ago. I'm not the same person. So I think that love, when I think of love, I think of when it fades, it's that you're growing and you have to still, like, I think of a tree and you have to grow enrooted with each other. But sometimes it could go this way and it might not even be on purpose. It might just be because, I want to move to New York and he wants to stay in Los Angeles. But I know for sure for my sanity and for what I want to do in my life, I want to move to New York. So it could just, may not, when I think of love fading, I don't always think of it as a negative thing either.
That's true too. Yeah. Depending on where you're at in life. Yeah.
Also, we're different. And we don't always understand how we are different. Like, men have a tendency to be very achievement, very significance driven. And so that's why they're sometimes so wrapped up in their careers and wrapped up in their jobs, not only because they want to bring home the bacon to the family, but they get their acknowledgement, their self-worth from where they go every day and spend 9-10 hours. Women, whether we're working or not, we're still the worker, we're still emotional, we're still nurturing, we still want to help. We help people to grow and to develop, and we have that part of us that never goes away. But when we enter the workforce and we're trying to be a wife, work, and raise children, and we're trying to juggle all of that, sometimes the men just don't get it. It doesn't compute in terms of, okay, now where do I fit into all that? I'm confused.
Okay, so basically when we talk about the possibility of things fading is, I'm going to just kind of summarize. It's one, forgetting how it was before we got started. That in the beginning. Number two, growth, but that the growth is not kind of encapsulated in part of the relationship. It's kind of grow that way and forgetting about that aspect. And differences they're just basic differences between men and women. If it wasn't, we wouldn't need men and women.
Right.
So that's why we have men and we have women. And I think, you know what, those are some very good and some very valid points. And I would just add one thing with it being that it gets away from you. Because we can talk about it right now when you're mixed up with the everyday hustle and bustle what we want to have done and how we want to do it. You're so busy trying to do that and make everything happen. And that's both the male and the female, both ways. You're like, oh, okay. And it kind of gets away from us. That's right. So I think those are some very, very good and valid points. But you know what? We're going to take a break right now. So right now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the possibility of, yes, it can fade, but can it be restored? That's something for you to think about.
Okay.
All right. So we'll be right back with you. Thank you.
I'm Jonna, and I'm a co-host on the Ladies Talk Show. And today we're bringing you a brand new format called the Ladies One-on-One. Today, our topic is tax filing in 2019, what you need to know. This new Trump tax law, the president's new tax law, is called the Tax Cut and Jobs Act.
That's correct.
What is it? What is the biggest mistake that you feel that taxpayers make regarding their personal taxes and how to file them and things like that?
The biggest mistake that most tax filers this is what I wanted to take out of my tax.
And also have something to do with what bracket you're in?
All right, you all, welcome back to the Ladies Show. So, you know, today, in this wonderful month of love, we're discussing the topic of when love fades or if it can fade. So we've kind of had a general consensus that sometimes it does fade. And we've kind of looked at some factors that come into play with it fading. Things like differences between men and women, kind of forgetting how things started and maintaining those. So there is just a whole array of different things that could happen. So my next question is, though, okay, so let's say that happens and it has faded. Do you think there's any way that it can be restored? Is that possible?
I definitely think so. I know of married couples who went through their marriage, divorced, and then found themselves in love again later in life. Yeah, which I thought was always like, whoa. Because you know what I mean? Like you got married, you got divorced, and then you got remarried again. That's a lot.
That's a lot. I've seen that recently.
Yeah, right.
Recently.
And I think it's amazing, but I wonder what it was in between, you know, that stop. Like, no, we're good. And we're gonna take a break, but then we're gonna get back together.
Do you think this wasn't discussed, but it kind of could be a factor? Do you think selfishness takes a part in any of that?
Yes, I'm going to say yes, because I know that I have to be selfish with myself, and I think that when I had to, be selfish, I had to relinquish some things. Some things have to be sacrificed, and that was love for me. So. Yeah,
just a thought as you were sharing.
I think the selfishness in a relationship sometimes manifests itself in, yes, I'm in this relationship, I want this relationship, but I want to make sure that I get what I want and what I need first.
Right.
And then I'll attend to you. If there's anything left out of that, then I'll share a piece of it with you.
Right.
But I do think that love can be restored. Okay. I think for me, the two words that come up are desire and willingness.
That's a good
the
one.
desire to want it back, and the willingness to do whatever it takes to get it back, no matter how long it takes.
That's right. That's right.
And that's the hard part. I think the willingness part is difficult.
And I would say forgiveness.
Yes.
True. And you have to humble yourself.
Absolutely.
Because at some point, somebody's ego got in the way, right? And then it can just start to be an ego match. You know.
Are you saying I have to let my ego down? Yes. I don't know if
Let
I
me
can do
tell
that, y'all.
It's called compromise all the way, baby.
But how do you do that when you're restoring? How do you let your ego go down?
Well, you both have to want it. That's number one, right? Because it can't be one person pursuing the other person constantly, because that gets old if it's not reciprocated, I would say. And then you just have to, what do they say? Keep it 100. Like, you just have to be honest with each other. We want to make this work. Let the egos go. Let's be honest with each other. Where did we go wrong? Let's fix it and let's move on. And make sure you're both in communication and compromising.
That's true.
So you can get back to that home, I call it home plate.
You know, and I've, through talking to many of older relatives and women, mainly the ladies, you know, they've experienced a lot of things in life. And relationships, because I have, and it's really something because the older generation, I mean, you look at them, they've been married like 62 years.
Right.
So what is it that makes that happen? You know, and I think so, what you said just kind of ranged with me. And one of the things that my aunt said, and it is about compromise. Because, you know, you're in the relationship with two different people, and you want to be able to, you have to address that issue. And she'd say, you're not going to wake up every day and be just, so googly-eyed in love, and that aspect.
Right.
But the aspect of loving is part of that compromise, to let you know, okay, we don't necessarily have to agree on anything, but I'm still here. We're going to make it happen. So when you say the willingness, you have to want it, and that, I think that's a plus, because then you have to look at self. Because there was a change, and kind of put some things in jeopardy.
Right.
And you know, sometimes it's not really good to look at self, because you could look at some ugly stuff.
Right.
It's hard to. Yeah.
And you have to admit that. And then part of the step to restoring that, you've got to admit that. Say, this is what we got going. But then you have to kind of forgive yourself. Move on to the direction and the goal that you're trying to hit. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes you have to agree to disagree. And that is
okay.
Right. Okay. And not hold on to that or start tallying points in your mind, right? Against the other person. They don't even know that the game's going on. And then, you know what I mean? And then there's this head-on collision, and it's like you've been bam, 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 but the person's like, whoa, I just didn't put the toilet seat down.
Yeah. Got you.
You know what I mean? So you have to.
So it kind of comes out. Kind of comes out. And you're not even thinking about it. You're like, where'd that come from?
That's right. And that starts
a whole. Because they haven't let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy?
Amen.
Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? Because when we're kind of fuss budgeting and I tolerate this and I have to put up with this, not realizing when you were talking about looking at ourselves, well, what are they tolerating from us? That they never say anything about, or it builds up and builds up and builds up until a person who you never thought would blow up explodes.
That's right.
And it's like, well, what made them do that? Because they've been holding in while you've been spouting out.
Right.
And there's no evenness in that. There's no fair play in that.
Right. And neither one is healthy.
And when you sort of sweep things under the rug, they're swept under. And if you're not picking the rug up, clean up out of there, it stays there. So that is so good. The thought of, then all of a sudden here it comes. It's spewed out. And then what do you do with that?
Right.
Yeah.
What do you do with that? Yeah. So what do you do with that? If you're in the midst of, okay, we got to restore this. What are we doing?
Right.
Well, just like Jana said, having the willingness, and just like, I don't know, I know a lot of couples and individuals, they do counseling and things like that. But you know, for me, I'm one of those type of women like counseling. I don't got time for that. So really taking the time to actually do it. And
well,
really,
you might change though. If it's amazing how when something's important to you,
you'll do anything.
You can find time.
Yes. You'll find time and you'll do anything.
You know, working out is important to me. I'm going to work out.
Right, no matter
and I've been doing it so long now that if I don't work out, it's like, oh, something's missing. So, because think about it. The question is, how bad do you want it?
Exactly. Right.
If you see that outfit,
that's
or
right.
shoes,
I don't get that outfit. You want to go on a trip? I'm saving this money.
That's right.
Right. What's important to you, you will make happen, no matter what.
That's
True.
The priority of it, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yes. I'm all for counseling. You know, maybe speaking to your elders, older married couples in your family or your community, reaching up, I call it, you know, or reaching out. You have to do that because, like you said, they have a wisdom and a knowledge that you will never have because you're not of that age yet,
right?
Or you haven't been through those things yet.
Exactly.
So I'm all for asking for advice or reaching up or reaching out or whoever wants to give it.
Well, find somebody grandma to call. Get some advice.
That's right.
Grandma's wisdom.
True.
You know, that's right. My mother's one of my mother's golden rules is she says, if God didn't want children to have parents, he'd send them here grown. I said, that's true. I mean, think about it. I see them here grown. So there's a reason in that growth and the wisdom. And how many times that we can look now and say, see somebody like 21, you're like,
poor baby.
They
got
a long way
to go.
Keep living.
Oh, yeah. Yes. They know it all.
And I also like something you said earlier about modeling for our children as far as the relationship. And you're right. Because women, we are developed to nurture, to care for, to take care of. So we kind of go autopilot when it comes to like having children and stuff like that. But we also have to remember before those kids came here, it was you and the husband.
That's right.
And that it's the husband and then the family because you're modeling toward that.
That's right. So they need to see it. I was blessed enough to be raised not only by my mother, but also by my grandparents. And so they were married until my grandfather's death. So they were married 52 years.
Right.
Wow. And so I was blessed to see what a marriage looks like. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but some people don't even get to experience that on such an intimate level. And we actually lived with my grandparents. So it was a blessing. So we saw the real, you know, not just the, we see you on the holidays.
That's what you say.
And then we don't really know what's going on in the house. So I was blessed to have my grandparents show us amazing love. And I mean, their fights were so cute. It was ridiculous. So my grandmother's nickname was Fuzz. And she would get all worked up and she'd just be like, be quiet, Leon. He'd be like, shut it, Fuzz. And she'd be so upset. And it was just hilarious. But, you know, nothing beyond that. No name calling, no hitting, no stepping out, you know, just love, unconditional love. My grandfather working hard every day. She said, I do and I quit. And so she raised everybody's kids in the family. She cooked dinner for everybody in the family. Everybody went to work, dropped their kids off with her. She cooked, did PTA, volunteered at the school, which is kind of funny because I don't do the cooking part, but I take care of everybody's kids. And so, just modeling that and having that in my life and knowing that that's the way to go.
Yeah. And I think that, and it goes on both parts, most so for women too, but when you're in that relationship and we're building that, we want to restore those kind of things, the steps that we take, that there has to be a point where each person feels safe.
That's right.
Yeah.
You gotta feel safe to be able to share that. I'm going to say this to you. You're not going to hold it against me. But it's for us to do better. Of course. And to move forward, and that's what we want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Evolve.
Exactly.
All right.
That's exactly.
That's some good stuff, you guys. I love it. I'm loving it. Okay, so we're going to take a break. Okay. But when we come back, I have one other question. And we want to talk about some specific concrete steps toward restoration. Okay. And then after it's to the point of restoration, where do we go from there? Sounds like a plan?
Awesome.
All right, sounds good. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Welcome to our show, The Ladies. The goal of this talk show is to bring to light and discuss issues in the news from 4 different perspectives. We strive to create a consistent, high-quality show that relates, entertains, engages, and builds an honest, transparent relationship with our viewers. We hope that by watching this unique show, you feel uplifted, enlightened, encouraged, and entertained. Our mission is to use the airwaves to bring to life engaging topics, transform our viewers' lives, and bring a sense of fulfillment into every home. Thank you for watching The Ladies, and welcome to the family of 4 ladies with 4 different opinions.
Welcome back, everybody. We are having such a good time here, and I hope that you are too. Welcome back to The Ladies Show. And you know, we do what we do. So today we're talking about love fading. We've got past all that aspect of it. So we've gotten past the fact of it fading. We've talked about the aspect of restoring it, which we all believe and know that it can be done, that all things are possible. And we talked about different steps for making sure that that happens. So if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to kind of summarize what we kind of talked about and make sure I got what you shared. And if there's anything I missed, just kind of throw it in there. But I would capitalize certain things that one, and the steps to restoring it. And these are also, once it's restored, where we stay. Mm-hmm. But the steps for restoring it, one of the things we talked about is respect, loyalty, safety, time, commitment, value. And I'm going to throw this one in. It wasn't mentioned, but I think it's very relevant. Put the cell phone down. Down.
Yes.
So I just want to, that's like, be in the moment.
Be in the moment, yes.
Transparency and vulnerability.
Love it. Transparency. Love it. Yes. Yeah. Because a lot of times, and one of the things that we didn't talk about is people get scared.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's terrifying to let your guard down.
Yeah, because they get scared based upon, you know, we all have luggage that we bring in.
Right.
This, that, and the other. So I think if we have a complementary blend of those aspects, restoration has the best opportunity not only to grow, to happen, but to flourish. Right. To flourish and take the relationship to a whole nother level.
Right. Definitely.
Yes. You know, and make sure for that.
For all the seeds you need.
Right. And so when we get there, then we can stay in that zone. Because we've come from here, we've moved it up, and we're staying right here. We've hit the market. And one of the things that I've heard from a lot of people is that it gets better with time.
Right, like some fine wine.
That's right. That's so true.
That is the truth.
Because I think you get used to each other. And then what maybe used to annoy you in the beginning, you're like, okay, that's just how you are. You're not doing it to get on my last nerve. That's just who you are. And I think another thing we didn't even mention was that unfortunately sometimes people get in relationships and want to change each other.
I hear
that can drive you crazy. Because really, who do you have control over? Yourself.
Just yourself.
Period. No matter what you say, no matter how much they love you, no matter who they are who they are. So you can't get in the relationship and then say, but I thought you would be this way once we got married or had children or whatever it is.
I had an epiphany one day with certain little household things. And it came to me, and I said to him, I said, you know what? I just figured something out. And he said, what is that? I said, we were not raised the same.
That's right.
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 We did not have the same household. He came from a single parent, divorced household. I had the Cosby Show. So in terms of certain things like household chores, like all kinds of stuff, we just were raised differently. We had chores, he kind of sort of didn't. And once I really took that in and embraced it, I said, my gosh, we're different. Okay, so I'm going to do things the way I do them. He did things the way he was used to doing it, like he was in a college dorm or something. And but eventually, I would see little changes. Yeah. I would see little stuff being done differently. I would see all of that, and I didn't have to like fuss or argue.
Right.
My level of complaint diminished tremendously when I realized my goodness, it's not really that bad. We're just different.
Just different.
And that's an opportunity. What most people do is establish their own thing for their household. It's not my mother's household,
Totally
not your
different.
family's house. This is our thing. This is what we're going to do.
Exactly.
And it might not look like anybody else, but that's okay.
And you know, and speaking of that, I think something else that just came to mind that we didn't talk about is really important, is get other people out of your relationship.
You mean get people out about your business?
Well, it is forsaking all others. That includes meddling family members as well.
That's right. Oh no, you can't let people, because they'll come in and wreck your whole relationship.
Right.
And then wreck it and then step away.
And then say, look what they did.
Yeah, and look what they did.
Look what they did.
Right.
Yeah, look what they did.
I had a friend one time, and she says, yeah, I call my mom and we talk every day, and I tell her everything, and I'm like, wow, she doesn't want to be in your bed.
No.
She doesn't want your business to be her business. If you want to go to her every now and then because you want mama advice, that's fine. But other than that, she doesn't need a daily report.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that in a relationship either.
No.
What goes on, I can understand if there is something that you need to step out, but for the most part, keep our business inside and off the phones.
That's right. Yeah, you get in a lot of trouble like that because you have so many different aspects. You know, you're talking to people who have never been married versus people who've been married long term. Single people. You know, then you get the husbands or the boyfriends talking to guys who are just dogs. They're just nasty, and so they're not going to give your faithful husband, spouse, significant other the same advice. They're going to give him what they know, which is doggy dog
jealousy
world. Yeah, exactly. Right. Jealousy too. That's huge.
You know what? I told you we took our word association.
Yeah.
Okay. Come back and talk about it.
They hear about this.
Right.
I'm a little scared.
I forgot.
No.
But I think because we've gone through the various stages from fading to steps to recognizing the steps to restore and how to keep it. So I found it very interesting when we did them, and I want you to hear. It's very interesting to hear what was shared in terms of what your thoughts were. So we're going to start with the husband. So we heard things like rock, dependable, loyal, responsible, provider. So that's how we're seeing it.
Okay.
I said it. Okay. I also found it was interesting when they talked about, when I said wife, I heard amazing, responsible, queen, dependable, all that.
And a bag of chips.
So I find that to be interesting because we again, based upon our experiences, we bring certain expectations to every aspect of our life.
Right.
So I found it very interesting that in terms of the husband, basically we're looking for him to be the head and take care of it. Is it responsible, the rock, dependable, that you got to depend on, you want that to be. Mm-hmm. And as for the wife, she's so amazing. She's so responsible. She's the queen. Right. And she's so dependable.
Right.
So don't you find that kind of interesting?
That's really interesting.
It is. You know what? I think a lot has to do back to your childhood. So me being raised by a single mother, that was what my mom was to me. She was the end all.
So that's very, very interesting.
That's some good points.
Experiences do that. So we're about to run out of time, but that was good, ladies. I like that. Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to end on this note. I, again, want to thank all of you who continue to watch The Ladies Show. Thank you, and we appreciate that you subscribe, click that little subscribe at the bottom, that you can continue to come back and to visit us. And all those that are new, come on back. We have a really, really good time. And just hit subscribe so you'll get a notice when we have a new show that is coming up. Yes. We also want to hear from you because while we get a lot of topics, we want to hear, might be some things that we haven't discussed that you may have an idea. So you just kind of drop it down there and make some comments, and our producers will look at it and say, hey, let's see if we can go ahead and take care of that. And the show would be nothing at all without my beautiful queen, amazing co-hostess.
Yes. Our lead host, Sheila.
Yes.
Zandria, Jana, and Talia. So I want to end on this note, this beautiful note in February, the month of love. So we kind of talk about love and relationships. So I think this kind of encapsulates it all and makes it happen. And it says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. Love is not proud. Love does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. Love is not easily angered. Love keeps no record of wrongs, does not delight in evil. Rejoice with the truth, always protects, always trusts. Love always hopes. Love always perseveres. Love never fails.
Amen.
I want to thank you guys. Amen. Thank you for joining us. And remember, this is your ladies' show. Come back and visit us. Thank you so much.